play with her favorite toy, a golden ball. She loved tossing it up into the air and catching it as it fell. As she played, she threw the ball higher and higher. Then she threw it so high that she missed catching it as it fell. The ball bounced into the pond. The pond was so deep that she could not see the ball. The princess was so sad that she said,
"I would give all my fine clothes and jewels if I could only get my ball back."
At that moment, a frog put its head out of the water and said,
"Do not be sad, princess, for I do not want your fine jewels and clothes. But if you will love me and let me live with you and eat off your golden plate and sleep in your bed, then I will get your ball for you."
This frog will not be able to get out of this pond to visit me, though he may be able to get my ball for me. And therefore, I shall tell him he will have whatever he asks.
So she said to the frog,
"Well, if you will bring me my ball, I will do all you ask."
Then the frog dove deep under the water, and after a little while, he came up with the ball in his mouth and threw it to the edge of the pond. As soon as the young princess saw her ball, she grabbed it. She was so overjoyed to have her ball again that she ran home as fast as she could, forgetting all about the frog. The frog called to her.
"Wait, princess, take me with you."
But she did not stop to hear a word. The next day, just as the princess sat down to eat dinner, she heard a strange noise. Tap, tap, clash, clash, as if something were coming up the marble staircase. Soon afterwards, there was a gentle knock at the door, and a little voice cried out and said,
"Open the door, my princess dear. Open the door to thy true love here, and mind the words that thou and I said by the fountain pool in the greenwood shade."
The princess ran to the door and opened it. And there she saw the frog, whom she had quite forgotten. Seeing the frog frightened her. So she shut the door as fast as she could and came back to her seat. The king, her father, seeing that something had frightened her, asked her, "What's wrong, my sweet daughter?"
"There is a nasty frog at the door,"
she said,
"that lifted my ball for me out of the pond this morning. I told him that if he could get my ball out of the pond, he could live with me here, thinking he could never get out of the pond. But there he is at the door, and he wants to come in."
As she was speaking, she heard the frog at the door.
"Open the door, my princess dear. Open the door to thy true love here, and mind the words that thou and I said by the fountain pool in the greenwood shade."
The king said to his daughter, "You have given your word, so now you must keep it. Go and let him in." The princess opened the door, and the frog hopped in. Tap, tap, plash, plash. The frog came up to the table where the princess had sat.
"Now please lift me upon your chair,
Said the frog.
and bring your plate weight close to me so I may eat from it.
When the frog had eaten all he could, he said,
Now I am tired. Please carry me upstairs and into your bed.
The princess, though very unwilling, took him up in her hand and put him on the pillow of her own bed, where he slept all night long. As soon as it was light, the frog hopped up, hopped downstairs, and left the castle. The princess thought,
At last that nasty frog is gone, and I don't have to deal with him anymore.
but the next night she heard the tapping at the door again. And the frog said,
Open the door, my princess dear. Open the door to thy true love here, and mind the words that thou and I said by the fountain pool in the greenwood shade.
When the princess opened the door, the frog came in and slept upon her pillow again. And the third night he did the same. When the princess awoke on the following morning, she was astonished to see that instead of a frog, a handsome prince with the most beautiful eyes she had ever seen was standing at the foot of her own bed. The prince told her that he had been enchanted by a spiteful fairy who had fated him to stay in that pond until the princess would let him eat from her plate and sleep upon her pillow for 3 whole nights. The prince said,
But now you have broken the spell. Will you come and live with me in my father's kingdom, where I will marry you and love you as long as we both shall live?
The young prince, of course, asked her, and the princess said yes to all of this. And as they spoke, a beautiful carriage drove up, with 8 beautiful horses decked with plumes of feathers and a golden harness. They set out for the prince's kingdom, which they reached safely, of course, and they lived happily ever after.